Hey guys, my name is IVJ and I'm here with you today with a review of the Chaves CHUB Gen 2. The CHUB part of the name stands for Chaves Handy Utility Blade. It comes in two different finishes. It comes in the stonewash plain titanium finish, and this version here you're seeing is a black coated PVD finish. So it's a very durable type of coating. It's not paint. I've been using this one for about 2-3 months and I use it pretty frequently. I carry it every other day, and I haven't seen any wear of the coating itself. It's part of the Chaves Ultramar line, which is the line that's produced by Riot Knives. He creates a lot of custom knives that he produces himself, but this Ultramar line is produced by Riot Knives. It comes out of China, but it has very good quality. I'll get into a couple of specifics. I also want to cover some things that I like, some things that I don't like, possibly some potential improvements, and then also an alternative to this. This is a pretty pricey utility blade. It's counts as pocket jewelry. I like it. It goes with my EDC. It complements it very well. But if you are still debating on whether a utility knife is something that you find useful in your EDC, there's a couple of options out there that are affordable that let you kind of just try out the utility knife and see if you like it. Some specifications right off the bat. It is 3.3 inches long. It is 1.2 inches wide. Thickness wise, it's about half an inch thickness. Weight wise, it's 68 grams, 2.4 ounces. It's pretty thick. It's a thick boy, but because it is made of titanium, it is not that heavy. It gives you the durability. It doesn't rust. It's strong and it's lightweight. And this is, I believe, completely made out of titanium. These type of blades are pretty common. You'd find them at almost any hardware store, a lot of convenience stores. If you're traveling abroad and you don't want to take a pocket knife, you only have a carry-on, you might want to take just a knife by itself, leave the utility blade behind, and then when you get to your destination, go to a hardware store, pick one up, put it in, take it with you, and then whenever you're heading back, throw it away. These are pretty cheap. Couple of cents, less than $1 each. You don't have to worry about sharpening. These blades come razor sharp, and soon as they start dulling, you take it out, you flip it and use the other side, and you're off to the races again. You want to find a utility knife that is able to allow for quick replacement of the blade. That's one thing I looked for when I was looking for a utility knife. These specific blades, it didn't come with this one, but I just got it off Amazon. I think 50 pack for $5 or something like that. It was pretty affordable. So you'll find these pretty cheap. There's also some with designs. So they get pretty creative, and you're able to kind of customize your knife a little bit further that way. So easy as that to replace it. All you have to do is press on that little tab, slide it in, and then let go of the tab, and it locks in place. That little post there is what locks in that cutout in the blade, and it allows it to stay in place. So that's it. That's all there is to it as far as changing the blade. A couple of good things about it. I like the looks. It's a very sleek looking knife. It's very simple. There is very simple, bold lines. And of course, with the Chaves knives, you get the skull pocket clip. That's very iconic. And, that's half the reason why I got this, because it's a really cool clip. The back of it is also kind of cool with the skull. This kind of looks like a little coffin. So it has a lot of cool designs to it. And like I mentioned earlier, it complements my EDC pretty well. One of the things about the skull clip is that it catches people's attention, right? And people will ask, hey, what's that? And you can start talking about it. Another good thing about it, it's made of titanium. It's lightweight, like I said. This is a Gen 2, so there was a Gen 1. Since then, he worked on a couple of things. The number of screws, I believe, the way this push button works And the design of this push button is a little bit different. So it has a little bit more ridges to be able to hold. I think the force you need to press it down and to actually move it is less. And it's also a one-handed operation, which is very nice. Also, not just opening, you have to keep in mind the closing part of it. You want to make sure to close it, it's easy, right? You don't want to have to use two hands as well. So to open it, you press a button and you slide forward. There's 3 different stops for this slider. So it's constantly pushing up. There's a spring here that pushes this post up. And I believe in the back, there's a rail with 3 different stops. One is very early, which is right here. And this is if you want to make very small cuts. You can, you know, put it down and you kind of lean forward and you can precisely control the amount of depth you want into the item in case you want to make a very shallow cut or you don't want to expose too much blade. The second position is a position I used most often. This is a kind of, visually appealing configuration for this knife. These lines complement each other really well. So it just looks nice in this configuration. When you can push a little bit more, and this gives you the ability to change the blade, a little bit more reach. But I mean, I really don't use it in this configuration all too much. So one hand operation to take out, and this position also, like when you hold on to it and you push it, my thumb kind of normally stops pushing at this point. It's a little harder. I'd have to kind of bring in the knife and keep on pushing in order to push it further to the last stop. But in order to push it to this stop, which is the most commonly used spot, it's very natural, right? This is a natural position for my thumb to stop. Another thing I like about it is that it has a rounded corner. So I'll bring it up to the camera here. So this corner up here is rounded and it allows you to slide it on the material that you're cutting. So if you are cutting some cardboard, you're going to be able to put it along the cardboard and slide it. And if you're using a pocket knife, sometimes they have sharpening choils or that this part is kind of rough. So you almost have to stay in the middle of the blade in order to cut without getting stuck. And with this little rounded off corner here and the way that the blade kind of just goes all the way up to the edge, you're able to, in this configuration specifically, you're able to just put it up against the surface, slide it all the way down, and cut the cardboard very easily. So I don't know if this was, intended to be that way, but that's the way I use it, and it makes it a lot easier to use. You can see that it's a little bit shinier, that portion. I don't know if you can kind of tell, but there's more sheen to that area, and that's because I'm constantly sliding it and it's not rubbing off, right? So this PVD coating does not rub off easily. It just kind of gives it that other kind of texture on it. There's one specific pain point. So there's only one complaint that I would have. So it's when it's in a jean, you just, it's just straight down. So your hand goes past this, not that big of a problem. These edges are both rounded off. Whenever it's in a slack, it's kind of at an angle. So you end up putting your hand down this way and you end up rubbing it along this edge here. I would prefer for this edge here to be rounded off a bit more than it is now. Whenever you're quickly putting your hand in your pocket to reach for some keys, you do end up kind of like scraping it. Couple potential improvements is the addition of a lanyard hole. There's no lanyard hole here, but typically when it's a smaller knife, you use a lanyard for the extra purchase. So if the lanyard was hanging off here, you'd be able to wrap your pinky around it, something like that. And it just gives you a little bit extra purchase. So I mentioned earlier that I don't really like fully extending the knife. And that's because when it's fully extended, it's very difficult to get your finger in a position where you can push down and pull on this button here. So whenever you're pushing it out, you can kind of get behind it, push it down and push forward. But when it's fully extended, you want to get in front of it, but there is no space for you to get in front of it. It's kind of like flush there. So you kind of have to, press a little bit harder here and pull. And sometimes it just kind of slides off, even though it has an improved, little ridges here for more traction for your thumb. It's still difficult to grab onto it. That's one of the main reasons why I don't push it all the way to the end. When I'm using it, I leave it here. If this cutout were to extend just a little bit longer and allow you to put your thumb in front of it and pull it back, I think that would make the use of this knife a little bit easier. But then again, I don't really push it all the way out to the end, so it's not really that big of a deal. I mentioned some potential alternatives for this. If you want to just try out a EDC utility blade, if you don't want to spend this much money, which I don't blame you, you can go ahead and purchase one of these. It's a outdoor edge sidewinder, I believe, sidewinder. And it's basically, utility blade, spring loaded here. So if you can push it all the way out, you press this button and it retracts all the way almost. Gets caught up, doesn't slide very well, but it has a couple extra tools. Has a lanyard hole. It has a Phillips screwdriver. It has a flathead screwdriver or pry bar. And it also has a bottle opener. You can probably tell it's not completely made out of metal. So I think this is some sort of steel and this is some sort of plastic. And you have the blade here. So in order to change the blade, it's actually pretty simple. You push it all the way, press the button, and that unlocks it. You get to pull it out, and to put it back in, you just kind of slide it in place. And then you let it go. So that is a pretty easy operation. And it's pretty compact. It has a pocket clip. It has a lot of really nice features. It'd be nice if they made a full metal version of it, but this kind of keeps it lightweight. I think they do it because they have a complicated mechanism behind here, and it's a lot easier to manufacture it when that piece is made out of plastic. So I bought this one for about $10. I think they have 2 or 3 different colors. So if you want to try out an EDC utility blade, I recommend getting yourself one of these. Or if you just like them in general and you want to have an extra one lying around, get yourself one of these. That's it. If you enjoyed the video, give a like. If you want to see more of these type of videos, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.